So let me ask you something. Why do you do the things you do? And I don't just mean the big stuff like life choices. I mean the small things. Why'd you pick that brand of coffee this morning? Why'd you send that exact text message? What about that sudden flash of annoyance you felt a minute ago? We like to think we have these nice, logical reasons, that we're in the driver's seat. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the real driver is something deeper, something more like a fundamental law of our own inner universe? Well, let's dig into that.
You know that feeling, right? You snap at someone you love and immediately think, where did that come from? Or you procrastinate on something super important, even though you know you shouldn't. It's almost like there's some invisible force pulling your strings, and you're just along for the ride. Well, what if that feeling isn't just a weird quirk? What if it's actually a peek behind the curtain at the real operating system of our minds?
For this explainer, our guide on this journey is Dr. Michael Lukens. He's a clinical psychologist with over 3 decades of experience, and he's put together this absolutely massive 3-volume work called The Physics of Emotioning. And I mean, this book, it's a total paradigm shift. It takes basically everything we've been taught about thoughts, feelings, choices, and actions, and it flips it on its head. It offers a bold and, honestly, a radical new map for our inner world. Okay, so at the very heart of all of this is a concept Dr. Lukens calls emotioning. And right away, you have to forget what you think emotion means. This isn't just about being happy or sad or angry. He defines emotioning as the fundamental force that moves us. Think about it like this. An apple falls from a tree because of gravity, right? It's moving through physical space. Well, emotioning is the gravity of our inner world. It's the constant falling we are always doing through a landscape of meaning that we ourselves create. So to even begin to understand this new landscape, we've got to redraw some pretty old and frankly, blurry lines. And the first one, and this is a big one, is the line between liking and loving. Now, this right here, this slide explains so much of our daily struggles in relationships. See, liking is all about what I get. It's a transaction. You make me feel good, so I like you. But feelings, they come and go. Liking is totally fickle. Loving, on the other hand, is completely different. It has nothing to do with what I'm getting. It's about what I'm giving. It's a stable, active commitment to your well-being. We get into so much trouble when we expect the steady, stable rock of loving from the constantly shifting sands of liking.
And Dr. Lukens gives this pure form of love a very specific name: committed benevolent interest, or CBI for short. He says this is the absolute essence of love. And here's the really mind-blowing part. He argues CBI isn't something we learn from greeting cards or movies. He says it's part of our biological equipment. We are literally built for this. It's that open, trusting, generous spirit you see in little kids before the world teaches them to be afraid.
Okay, now for the next big shift. We've all been raised with this idea that a rational mind is the CEO, right? It's supposed to be in charge. Well, according to the physics of emotioning, we've got the org chart completely upside down. This coach just flips the whole script. Emotioning, our wants, our desires, our fears, that's the boss. It sets the destination. Logic? Logic is just a tool, a really smart intern that we might or might not use to figure out the best way to get there. I mean, think about it. We had to want to go to the moon first. It was a passion. Only then did our will vote yes, and logic, in the form of rocket science, jumped in to serve that passion. Reason doesn't create the desire.
Now, to make this idea really stick, Dr. Lukens has this simple but honestly brilliant analogy. Just picture a metal cookie sheet, and on that sheet is a single drop of water. The tilt of that sheet, that's the force of our emotioning. It's the landscape of meaning we're in at any given moment. And our actions? That's just the path the water droplet takes.
So when that cookie sheet is tilted really steeply, we're talking great passion, intense desire, deep love or fear, what does the water do? It shoots down in a straight, fast line. There's no hesitation. It looks completely determined. From the outside, and even from the inside, it feels like there is no choice. The passion just has its own powerful gravity, and it pulls you along. But what happens when we lower the tilt of the sheet? The drop slows way down. It starts to meander, zigzagging, maybe even stalling out for a second. This is the perfect picture of ambivalence, right? When you have a few weaker passions pulling you in different directions. And it's right here, in this waffling and uncertainty, that the experience of having a choice suddenly seems to pop into existence. And this is the final mind-bending irony. When the cookie sheet is almost completely flat, the water droplet barely moves at all. This is what we often call our rational state. And in this state, we feel like we have infinite freedom, infinite choice. We feel like we could do anything. But according to this model, it's a total illusion.
It's an illusion born from the simple fact that there's not enough emotional tilt, not enough want to bother making any choice in the first place.
Okay, so if our actions are just determined by this emotional gravity, by the tilt of the cookie sheet, then who is that little voice in our head? You know, the one that's constantly explaining everything, convinced it's running the show? This brings us to the idea of the storyteller. Dr. Lukens calls this voice the observer, and it's the perfect name. It's like a sports announcer up in the commentary booth, narrating a game that it isn't actually playing. Our system acts, the water droplet moves down the cookie sheet, and then, a split second later, the observer scrambles to create a story that makes sense of why it happened. It's a post-game analysis that we've been mistaking for a pre-game strategy our entire lives.
Let's do a quick experiment. Take a look at these famous images. What do you see? A goblet or two faces? A young woman or an old one? Now, try to see the other one, and pay attention to that moment of the switch. See that? You didn't decide to see it differently. Your system just did it. Poof! The meaning changed in an instant. This is you, right now, directly experiencing your system, acting before your inner storyteller has a chance to say a word.
And that's the whole point. That little gestalt switch in your brain was a discovery, not a decision. It's proof that meaning itself is generated at a level way deeper than our inner monologue. Our system assigns meaning, and that meaning carries the entire blueprint for how we feel and what we do, all without ever asking our inner storyteller for permission.
So, as you can probably see, all of this is leading us to one of the most challenging, but maybe also one of the most liberating conclusions in Dr. Lukens' work, a complete rethink of free will itself.
And here it is, the core paradox. Dr. Lukens states it plainly. Free will, the way we usually think about it, simply doesn't exist. But, and this is a huge but, what we do have is autonomy. And that distinction makes all the difference in the world. So what's the difference? Well, the illusion of free will is the story our observer tells us when things are going smoothly, when the water is flowing down the cookie sheet without any bumps. But the reality is autonomy. As living systems, we can't help but be who we are. We are always acting according to our biological and psychological structure in any given moment. So freedom, in this new light, isn't about being able to choose our wants. It's about the unimpeded expression of the wants that we are already built to have. Now, I get it. Hearing that we're autonomous systems run by the physics of emotioning, it might sound a little bleak, maybe even deterministic. But Dr. Lukens argues that built right into our very nature is a program that offers profound hope. He calls it our saving grace.
And this brings us right back to the beginning, full circle. If emotioning truly is our operating system, then CBI, that innate, active, committed, benevolent interest in the well-being of another, is the most important, most vital application we have. It's the highest and healthiest expression of our determined, autonomous nature. And the power of running this program is just immense. CBI is the emotional bubble wrap that allows a child to grow and develop resilience. It's what builds our capacity for healthy relationships later in life. It's what gives us the strength to get through the inevitable storms and traumas of being human. And maybe most importantly, it is the direct antidote to contempt, which Dr. Lukens calls a committed malevolent interest, a state that locks us in a miserable, loveless world of our own making. So we're left with this final, really provocative thought. This model says our actions are determined. Okay, but it also says that love, in the form of committed benevolent interest, is a fundamental part of our biological factory settings. We are literally built to do it. So the question isn't, do we have free will? The real question is, given that we have this incredible, life-affirming program already installed, how will we orient our autonomous selves to run it? Now that is a question that changes everything.